Dude, it came out.
You mean the Ready Player One trailer?
Yeah, it's out.
Did 80 billion people notify you about that yesterday?
It was actually 85 billion, but yes.
Well,
yeah.
Because you're more important than me. Only 80 billion people told me.
So you want to talk about it?
Yeah, absolutely. First impression. What'd you think?
I think it's going to be a good movie. I was bothered. Like, first thing they said in the trailer was, I live in Columbus, Ohio, in the stacks.
Yeah, that's a shot across the bow, isn't it?
Yeah, that tells you right from the beginning, this is going to be, I'm going to take license with the story here, because he grew up in Oklahoma, right?
Yeah, he did. That bothered you, though?
Yeah, it did.
It didn't have that effect on me. It made me excited.
Why?
I went from, this will be okay, to, ooh, interesting. I feel like they might fix some of what's wrong with the story.
Really?
I think I think we both agreed this was a good book, but I don't know, man. It's silly and fun, but there were plot issues here and there. And if they're willing to mess with stuff, I'm kind of excited about that, because instead of just seeing a visual presentation of a story I already know inside and out, maybe they'll make it a little bit different. Maybe they'll tweak a few things and make it more fun.
Like what?
Oh, I hope they make the bad guys better. I hope Sorrento is on screen more and is more interesting. And I'll tell you what I liked about it. I felt emotional engagement with it. The visuals helped me with that.
Really?
Yeah, I felt like I liked Will Wheaton's reading of it a lot, but I couldn't help but picture Wesley Crusher the whole time. And just seeing a different person in that role made it kind of fun. And I felt a little more connection to this Parzival, just even in those few moments. And the action looked really fun and silly. And did you see Ogg's dance party?
Oh, yeah. Almost at the very beginning, you jumped right into it, right?
Yeah.
And so everybody's up there in 3D. I knew what I thought it would look like in my brain, but having seen what they're portraying it on screen, I actually think it's pretty good. Like, they did a good job with it.
Oh, I thought it looked really cool.
Did you notice everything was dark in the trailer, though?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, not Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, but it seemed like a lot of it was just dark. Like, even in the Oasis. See, in my mind, the Oasis was bright. Like, people would go to the Oasis because their lives were dark, and then it would be bright when they got in there.
Huh.
Like trees and stuff. But in the Oasis here, in the movie, it's all portrayed as like some dark Tron type world.
Yeah, you might just be thinking that, though, because of that one shot of whoever was riding that motorcycle skidding underneath. I mean, it looked like a Tron bike.
No, I thought about that. But it wasn't. No, this was very much like, this is an active thought I had before that, because when they first walk into the Oasis, everything's all glittery and shiny. You know what I'm talking about?
No, what are you talking about?
I'm opening the trailer up right now. So he puts the headset on about 1930. Okay, at 30 seconds, he goes straight in. Okay, you watch that right now, and you tell me that doesn't look like Tron. It's where Ogg's birthday party dance party is.
Yeah, that looks Tron-like, but I mean, when the Back to the Future DeLorean is speeding through a city and there's explosions around it, that doesn't look like Tron at all.
No, it doesn't. But I mean, I don't know what the deal is with riding a scorpion. That was weird to me.
That was weird. Did the Iron Giant actually appear in the book?
No, not at all.
I thought there was a reference to it, but I don't remember.
I thought Iron Giant was much later than the 80s. That's one gripe I have about the trailer, is that people expect, at least people that read the book, you expect all these 80s references and stuff, and it very much does not look like that in the trailer, in my experience.
Well, I expect them to go less obscure than the book. The book skewed very obscure. I mean, when he had a chance to pick a giant robot, and he picked
Leopardon.
What is it even called? Leopardon, yeah, from Spider-Man.
Oh, you are not on your game right now, man. How could you forget Leopardon?
I don't know. It took a minute. I was working on it.
You're looking at the trailer right now, aren't you? And that's
the whole time
you.
I was watching Spider-Man Homecoming, all I could think of was Spider-Man.
Really?
But I didn't know what that was before I read the book. So I would guess they're going to go more mainstream, so that part of the way they sell the movie to that 35 to 45 demo who will then take their kids is to come up with stuff that we all played with and we all remember. And there were dashes of that in the book, but it went obscure too much. But back to how you picture the Oasis. For me, I pictured it being not uniform. I imagined one planet being one way and another planet being another way.
Yeah.
And like one planet looking like the Super Nintendo and another planet looking like Xbox One and another planet looking like an arcade game from 1981 with grid lines and things like that. I picture there being different levels of reality.
What are we talking about today?
Well, I think we were going to talk about your trip to Chicago a while back and the fruit of your loins that it yielded. Is that the phrase?
Yes.
Oh, fruit of your labors. Some kind of fruit, loins or something.
Could you point to your loin right now if you needed to point to it?
I could point to the vicinity of it.
Because tenderloin is on the back, right?
I have no idea. I mean, if you're talking about like on a cow.
Yeah. So the tenderloin is on the back. Like,
is it really?
Yeah. When we used to shoot deer and we would
so the
skin
fruit
them,
of your loins is poop?
No, not at all. I'm just saying, like, the back strap is the tenderloin. Am I right about that?
I have no idea. I have a butcher friend. I could ask him. He would know.
Could you go do that? Could you go ask your butcher friend? Like, we could totally Google this, but it'd be way more fun
right now.
No,
I can call him. He would answer.
It would be way more fun to walk into a butcher shop and say, "Excuse me, could you please point at my loin?"
Oh, okay. I haven't done exactly that. That guy would do it too. He's a loin pointer type. No, I went in there a while back. I was like, "Hey man, can I watch you shooting the cow?" He's like, "Absolutely. Come on over here. Hey Buck, shoot one real quick." "Oh yeah, sure thing, man." Pop. Golly. Whoa. I mean, I guess you got to kill him in order to eat him, but wow.
That's how they do it?
Yeah, they just ran him into this little chute, and he has like a little short barrel 22, and they're like, calm down, Bessie. It's okay. Everything's just pop. Oh. God. You lied to that cow. Everything is not fine.
You are a liar.
You're going to be mutilated and eaten. No, I'm not lying. That's how they kill it. A Buck is. Oh yeah, that guy's awful.
But where does the bullet go?
Cow murder. I wondered that. I don't think it made it through the giant thick head. That's a lot of cow, man.
Man, that's
Those are big
weird.
things. And so then they slung it up on this rig, and just, I mean, it was amazing the efficiency with which these kids just cut the thing up, got rid of the stuff you wouldn't want. And so then within just a few minutes, it's all ready to go. And my buddy's like, "Come on over. I'll show you where everything is." I had no idea. I mean, this was one of the most eye-opening experiences I feel like I'm a meat guy and like I know what's going on. But I guess I figured ribeye comes from around the rib. I didn't know why it has an eye. Now I know. You can see right with where they're cutting the thing out. It's like, oh man, it does not look as delicious. Suspended from the ceiling like Ramsay Bolton just got done with it and all cut open. But boy, it's delicious about 2 steps after that.
That's cool. Interesting. But you promise you'll do that? You'll say, "Point to my loin"?
Oh yeah. You know what? I'll sneaky record it so you can hear how he responds.
Don't even sneaky record it. Just like video, like turn your video camera on. What's his name again? It's not Buck.
Jared. It's Jared.
Hey Jared, real quick. Let me record something. Hey Jared, do me a favor. Point to your loin. And then point to my loin. Can you do that?
He's going to do it.
You're going to have to end like, yeah, okay, cool. And
I'll make it happen. I'll tweet that.
That's in the Bible, gird up thy loins, right? You've seen that.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's in there. It's like, it's how you gear up so you're ready to run fast and fight hard.
You tie your robe up or whatever. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Your kilt. On the list of most targeted opening 15 minutes of podcast in history, this has got to be like top 8.
Should we start talking about what we were actually going to talk about, which is branding?
We were getting really close. We were going to talk about the fruit of your loins, or we're going to talk about the fruitfulness of your trip to Chicago. So you went to Case New Holland.
Yes.
In Chicago to talk with a whole bunch of employees about... Now, can you explain how Case New Holland works? Is that 2 companies or 1?
Okay, so here's the deal. So I do these talkie talks, and people want me to come give talks. And more often than not, they want me to bring the backwards bicycle. And so these corporate people want me to like say, okay, we're changing the whatever that we're doing, and we want people to learn something about it or whatever.
This is the bicycle where if you turn it right, it goes left, and if you turn it left, it goes right, and it messes with your bike riding algorithm and makes a fool of people.
Exactly.
And then the point that you make with that is...
Basically, look, you're thinking about your business or whatever a certain way, and you need to be able to adapt and overcome, but you can't because you've been thinking the same way the entire time. And so more often than not, management tries to use that as an excuse to, hey, come over here and help me deprogram my employees. But what I end up doing when I give these talks is I end up making it fun. And oftentimes don't kind of throw a little bit back at management a little bit. It's kind of fun. I really enjoy it.
Have you ever had that backfire?
No, I haven't.
Management's always willing to play ball with that. They like it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it works well, actually. And people enjoy it. I enjoy it too.
So Case is one company, New Holland is another company, or was another company, and then they became one company?
So it's a tractor company, right? Everybody's heard of like International Harvester, Case tractors, sure. New Holland tractors, things like that. But here's the deal. So in the tractor company, there's been a lot of mergers in the last few years. And when you think of tractors, you think of colors, right? Colors of tractors. Yeah. And what I have found is that farmers will typically buy the same brand of tractor that their dad had or their granddad had. It's just the way it works.
How did you discover this?
You just talk to tractor owners. And more often than not, you just know, especially if they're like generational farmers. So here's the deal. So I went to give this talk, and what's interesting about the company is that Case is red tractors, New Holland, they're blue tractors, but they're the same company now. So it's almost like they're competing inside their company, but they're not really, because they want the company to succeed. But they're still very much bifurcated, meaning, most of the company thinks Case red and the other one thinks New Holland blue. Okay, so when I started the talk, I put a bunch of colors on the screen, and I said, hey, I like to just get to know people that I'm talking to. So real quick, what is your favorite color? And I put a bunch of colors on the screen. I put like red, blue, which was their tractors. I put like Kubota orange and John Deere green and, a couple of other different colors. And when I put that up on the screen, everybody was laughing, and they had these little things on their table that they could vote with. And so they all voted. And at the end of the vote, they were at like 52% red and 49% blue. And they all were laughing and high five because the red guys beat the blue guys or whatever. And I was like, exactly. You have opened up my talk perfectly, because all I really asked was, what is your favorite color? But you are trained so hard to think in this one corporate way that to actually tell me what your favorite color was, that would feel like a sin, because you have to say either red or blue.
So nobody's telling the truth. Well, maybe a few people are, but they're playing the game.
Exactly. And it was really, really fun. And anyway, the rest of the talk was me like breaking that down and explaining how if they're competing within the company, they're not actually competing with the other people. They're just competing internally.
Well, how did they respond to that? Did they act all ashamed, like, you got us?
It got really quiet because like the managers were the ones high-fiving. Like the managers on the Case side were high-fiving, and then the managers on the New Holland side were like, oh man, And then there was a really cool moment. I kind of told some stories and stuff and did the backwards bike thing. And I said, now the application is obvious. You can't think freely because you're busy thinking a certain way. I'm going to ask again, and I just want you to say it. What is your favorite color? And nobody said anything. Like nobody said anything. It got really quiet. And I said, do you realize that we're at this place in your life where a person can ask you your favorite color and you can't even say it? I said, something's wrong. And then all of a sudden at the back, this guy goes, purple. My favorite color is purple.
Go Rocks.
And I was like, that man right there is that guy. He's a revolutionary. So we got to just talking about it. And I talked about other things about how to market tractors because, farmers, they pretty much, it's a generational thing. Like if you can establish a family line that will buy your tractor, then you're set.
I wonder how many other things there are like that because, with branding, the idea is to get that coveted 18 to 35 demo. And then once you've got somebody from 35 until death, they'll keep buying your product.
Yes.
But with tractors, you're telling me it transcends death.
Yeah,
that's a good brand.
It's a really good brand. I mean, like Case New Holland, they started back before the 1900s, if I recall. I need to look that up, but
yeah, Daryl and Connie New Holland were the founders, just out of their
No, New Holland's
garage.
actually a town in Pennsylvania, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway,
I was joking. I totally knew that.
It's so interesting. So anyway, during the talk, I said, you know what you need to do? You need to think in modern terms. And I pulled up a picture of this YouTuber named Wrangler Star. I was like, here's a guy, and he's marketing a certain tractor to the newer generation that's actually watching YouTube. And I said, you know what you should consider doing? Wink, wink. You should consider marketing with the new generation of thinker and doer. I mean, I don't know where you would ever find somebody that has a YouTube channel blah, blah, blah. And so I was just joking around with him.
Is the punchline of this that I'm getting a free tractor?
They let me borrow one for a year, and they're not in any way sponsoring this podcast, but they did let me borrow a tractor for a year, and I'm excited about it.
If you were to get out crayons right now and draw a tractor on zero notice, would it be red?
Yes, and the reason is because my grandfather had a red tractor. And what about you? What color do you think tractors are?
It'd be green. I lived in farm country in Iowa when I was a little kid, and the little community of people we knew all had John Deeres. So there just never occurred to me there'd be a tractor that wasn't green.
Yeah, and so like for other people, it's different colors. And that is how strong a brand can get down to the core of your being. It really can. Like, this is the way tractors work. It's what you think about.
Yeah, a color, a font, this means something. It owns a piece of real estate in your brain if the brand is strong enough.
Speaking of brand, there's a brand that would like to marry itself kind of to our brand in the form of a sponsorship, and I am for that. What about you, Matt?
I'm for that too. Are you talking about Audible?
Yeah.
The Audible brand, I mean, since we're talking about branding, is a really good match too. Because we're picky about that. But Audible fits.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the Ready Player One episode. And now it's, time to move forward. And we're going to talk about the Devil in the White City episode, right?
Yeah.
I'm done with the book, by the way.
Excellent.
And I won't go into it right now. We'll save that for the actual episode. But I will say it's completely different than Ready Player One. Like, Ready Player One was cotton candy, and this was fun and interesting, but in a completely different way. I don't know, it's more thought-provoking, I think. Instead of like the emotional things that you got through these characters in Ready Player One, I started looking at the world differently. Like landscape, architecture, I see it everywhere now. Never even noticed it before. My life is different for the better having read this book.
And that's a mark of a great book. Long before we were doing this podcast, I was telling people to check this book out. Having lived in Chicago, it's something I really like for those reasons. But as a historian, I love it because it's history that I know people will get and have fun with. And part of what I like about it is that it takes things that you theoretically shouldn't care about, and quickly you come to care, like landscape architecture or ways to simulate the look of marble, things like that.
On the Ready Player One episode, we went chapter by chapter, okay? And it was a plot line and it moved forward. This doesn't do that. This jumps back and forth between two separate plot lines.
The book has one big theme that we'll talk about later. It's a historical theme connected to Mark Twain. It's weird, but it'll make sense later. But it has at least two storylines. Maybe you could even argue a third and a fourth. And so I think we got to do something different. And I floated an idea to you the other day. You've had a little time to think about that. Where are you at on that plan?
I say we fly to Chicago. I say we do it.
I wondered if you'd be all cryptic about it. I think that's what we got to do.
We have to.
We go to Chicago. What if we go to every location that happened in the book or that's pertinent to the story, and we record the part of the podcast where we're dealing with that part of the book in that spot?
I mean, that's going to take a couple of days, right?
Bummer. We'll just have to go to Chicago and have fun for a couple of days.
Okay, I'm game. I think we do it. So anyway, if you want to prepare for that episode, go to audible.com/no-dumb-questions and get Devil in the White City by Eric Larson. That's it, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Sweet. Simple. It's like hard to not oversell that. Wait, am I saying that right? I'm saying that backwards, right?
It made sense. I agree. It takes care of itself. And all the way back to the theme of the show, Why I think this is a brand match is because I think the people who listen to this podcast are people who like to think about things that aren't in their wheelhouse, but are just interesting and push them a little bit and are maybe fun along the way.
This was definitely not in my wheelhouse.
Yeah. The book is a brand match. The sponsor is a brand match. Audible.com/NoDumbQuestions. Deal?
Deal. Okay, now that we have heard from one of the brands that would like to be associated with No Dumb Questions, which is also a brand, you see how that works?
Artfully done.
Yeah, let's talk about branding, because this is a really interesting concept. The concept of a brand, something that doesn't really exist, but has value in the minds of consumers and things like that. That's what I'd like to talk about. You cool with that?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it too.
And this is how I would like to start the conversation. So we're not going to pretend like you haven't seen this before, but I've had the same Smarter Everyday logo for a billion years. It's since 2010, 2011. And it's literally just a neon face brain logo that was a Creative Commons image that I just grabbed off the internet because it was free and put Smarter on top and Everyday on the bottom. That's been
HA on the one cheek and then sure enough PPY right there on the other.
I don't know what that means, but whatever. All right, so
the internet does.
That's been the logo forever. I'm thinking about changing that because of a conversation I had on a ski lift in West Virginia.
Boy, okay.
On the ski lift, I had this conversation with this guy. I was like, "Hey, man, what do you do?" And he's like, "Oh, well, I'm a construction guy. I rebrand fast food restaurants, or as they call it in the biz, quick serve restaurants." I was like, "Oh, okay, interesting. What do you mean rebrand?" He said, "Well, if you think about it," he goes, "if you go into like the same Taco Bell or whatever it is every day for 15 years, it starts to just look wore down and not quite as fresh as it used to look. And, the logo and all that stuff. So what I'll do is they'll pay me to come in there and basically demo a lot of the stuff in the store, keep the supporting structure, and then refresh and rebrand the store. Nothing changes about the food they serve or anything like that, but I rebrand everything, and they'll immediately, I snap my fingers, you can't hear it, immediately they'll see a 20% increase in sales.
I believe it.
Really? Why?
That subconscious thing that is atmosphere and environment. Well, branding is just attaching a story to something. And if the story of going to a Taco Bell from 1998 is dingy and run down and depressing, you're less likely to feel good about yourself when you go there. But if it's stylish and sleek and it's got 9 different types of lighting and seating that's era appropriate, you sit there and you feel fancy. You don't feel so bad about eating the same 6 ingredients in 55 different permutations. they're
That's
doing
exactly
this with
what Taco Bell is, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. They got the 6 things. They will rearrange them for you. Our McDonald's in town is doing that right now, and it's creating a buzz. I mean, it seems like even as they are remodeling, there's been an uptick in business there.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So I got to thinking about this, and my sister recently mentioned, she's like, you've used the same logo forever. And Gray has actually been on me. He's like, dude, you really should consider using something that's not that Creative Commons image. And so I talked to our friend Bethany, graphic designer that's done work for Smarter Every Day. Yeah, she designed the No Dumb Questions logo.
And she is doing the redesign on the 10-Minute Bible Hour logo.
Do you want to peel back the the shades a little bit and let people know about the branding discussions for No Dumb Questions, how that went down with Bethany?
Oh, yeah. What's to be sneaky about? It was a fantastic process. I don't know. I feel like we wussed out a little bit. We picked something effective, I think very effective, but safe.
I like it, man.
I think we got exactly the right choice, because I think what you and I liked the most wouldn't have really communicated, but it was awesome. Because we're talking about the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Your little Reepa-Cheap, but with science goggles on him.
Yeah, and you had the dumb manatee with I don't even remember. Oh, with a monocle. You really wanted a monocle?
History like a monocle. What the heck is that?
I don't know. So anyway, I don't even know what we were thinking there. Maybe we should.
Well, we're thinking it was fun. It was fun and outside the box and cool.
We should send that to the patrons. We'll do that. We'll send some.
Oh, yes. Oh, well, if we're allowed, we got to talk with Bethany.
Yeah.
That's her idea.
Yeah. We should do that. Anyway, so that was fun trying to come up with a brand. But what we were trying to nail the whole time was, hey, we want something that communicates something. So, I mean, in general, what do you think about the new Smarter Everyday logo that I showed you? It's the same neon brain thing,
right?
But it's new and fresh, and I haven't revealed it on Smarter Everyday yet, but can you just respond to it?
Yeah, and you didn't believe me the first time I responded to it. You accused me of, quote, sandbagging. I'm not sure what that meant in that context.
Yeah.
When I gave you the feedback that was, I think it's really good, what I was actually trying to say in kind of a coded, sneaky way was, I think it's pretty good.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I just meant it. I think it's excellent. What I like about it is that I haven't seen it anywhere else. And I definitely have seen your current Smarter Everyday logo a lot of other places because other people grabbed it off the interwebs as well, I guess.
Yeah.
So I like that it's still obviously Smarter Everyday, but I really like the warm red color.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love is the negative space. There's all this black around it, like light just inching out to illuminate the unknown and the dark parts. And not dark and like evil and bad and Smarter Everyday will solve the world's problems. I mean, like, just, hey,
you
there's
sounded
a lot
like Bill Nye when you did that. Yeah, Bill Nye has this weird voice that I don't understand.
Yeah, on Bill Nye Batman.
On his Netflix thing, he does this silly voice. And I'm like, what are you doing? Stop it.
Oh, man, there are other YouTubers involved in that. So I'm going to be charitable, but how can I put this nicely? I was not smitten with Bill Nye's Netflix program.
I wasn't either at all.
Okay.
Anyway, we can leave that there.
I feel like in a very subtle way, your new logo has smartness and modesty to it. And that is unusual on the internet.
Oh, what do you mean by modesty? Because I wasn't going for the modesty thing. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, but a good brand with a good brand consultant is going to reflect who you actually are. And you have, uncomfortable amounts of swagger about some things, but for as well as you've done at stuff, I think you got your head screwed on straight, and you do have a good sense of modesty and teachability. And I think you're really good at knowing what you don't know. And that's kind of the mark of somebody who knows something, is they know what they don't know. And it takes a lot of learning to figure out how much you don't know. And so what I like about the logo is there's a lot of black space around that logo. And it just communicates to me, wow, I have a lot to learn. But learning is fun, so let's go light these things up and learn about them.
That's cool. Yeah, so...
And you totally meant that.
Well,
so you're trying to...
No, what I did mean...
Just go with it.
No. What I did want is like that... I don't really know how to verbalize it, but kind of like you are illuminating, like that light in the darkness kind of thing. That's what I wanted it to feel like. Like, man, I don't know this thing, but, if I can search, you can reveal the answers. And, I just want to be a light in a dark world. That's what I want pretty much with my life. And I really liked that about it. So it's interesting that you picked up on the darkness. That's pretty cool. Thanks.
First thing that jumped out, because I think a lesser designer, the first thing they would do if they were given that logo would be like, oh, this is cropped incorrectly. There we go. Let me just tighten that up for you. There we are. Now there's more attention on the neon face in profile. But Bethany, who I know, and I know what she's going for, was being clever, and the negative space is there for a reason.
Thank you for the feedback. I appreciate that.
Your logo is like the 1990s band Cake.
Oh, I love Cake.
You remember Cake?
Oh, dude, it's one of the few albums I have on my phone. No joke.
A golden bird that flies away, a candle's fickle flame, and then nothing. Nothing. All their songs have nothing in different parts. It's the band that I most think of as using negative space. And they know right when to shut up and just let something sit there for a minute to build anticipation. And I feel like your logo does a good job of the same thing.
What's your favorite lyric from? Is that your favorite lyric from Cake?
No, all the lyrics from Short Skirt, Long Jacket. Whenever my wife asks me what nail polish to wear, I'm like, I want the nails that shine like justice.
With fingernails that shine like justice.
And she knows exactly what I mean.
So my favorite line is from The Distance, where he says,
Yeah.
There he goes, bowel shaking earthquakes of doubt and remorse assail him, unveil him with monster truck force. That was
actually really good.
That line is so good. I mean, it's so good.
Golly, I like that. We're not nearly as far along as you are. We've done the big, giant, multi-hour initial conversation.
Where she asks you weird things like, I don't know, she asked me some weird stuff. Like stuff I was like, no, I just need a logo. I don't
like weird stuff about choices you made in college.
No, just weird stuff in general. Like, no, if you had to say,
don't put that in my brand. Don't put that in my brand.
if you had to pick between, an ice cream sandwich and a leprechaun holding a lollipop, which would No,
I didn't get those.
I didn't either. I was just hoping you did. But she did ask some strange questions, and it's really neat how because she's really good at branding, and it kind of picks which way she goes or which direction she goes with even a font. So I think it's amazing. But anyway, brands. So when you think about a brand, what are some of the things you like, major brands? What do you think of?
To piggyback on the question you asked a second ago and on this question, with my brand, I just want something that communicates that this will be useful and laid back and the ball's in your court. What I'm trying to do is distinguish myself from other people who talk about philosophy and religion by saying, yeah, the bottom line of what you end up thinking, that's really not my concern. You go where you need with this. What I'm going to do is make it fun for you to get more raw data so you can decide whatever you're going to decide. And that's hard. That's hard to say succinctly, let alone button up into an image. But a good brand has all of those connotations attached to it. And so I think the strongest brands going today are the ones who've found a way to attach a little story to what they're doing to differentiate themselves from things that look similar.
What do you mean? Like, give me an example.
Okay. Tires. Like what was the first tire you were aware of existing as a kid?
Michelin.
Why?
Because of the Michelin Man.
Yeah. Because you put a big, goofy, like friendly, squishy, fat looking tire man who throws tires on your car and is always smiling and looks like a cartoon. And you're like, that seems good. As opposed to all those other brands of tires, like Walmart brand. Like, I don't know. I couldn't have told you any others as a kid.
What's interesting about that is that Michelin tires are French, and I didn't know that. And I remember that shocking me when I first heard about it because of the Michelin Man. So that brand was able to transcend language.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of brand, I think I'm just going to hit you out of left field with this. So I think subreddits kind of have brands, right?
Tell me what you mean.
So like if you go to r/videos, you're going to get a bunch of stupid videos, and there for a time they frowned upon original content, which I thought was really strange.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, they're starting to come out of that. But so different subreddits have different brands of mods or like the overall structure, all this kind of stuff. My question is, what about our brand? Our subreddit brand, No Dumb Questions, because there was a time there where we allowed everything, right? Like on the Smarter Everyday subreddit, we allowed anything to be posted. And what it turned into is, hey, I know this guy that makes educational videos. I'm going to post it. And so it really watered down what the content was.
Yeah.
And so my sister made a decision to, she's a mod. She made a decision to lock down the content on the Smarter Everyday subreddit to only things that were related to the videos.
Did you get a lot of pushback on that?
I did, but a lot of people loved it. It was a split decision. A lot of people were like, oh, this is great. But then some of the better points that were made was, hey, let's not forget that, 2 of the most recent Smarter Everyday videos had to do with content that was first, like for instance, Kirk Quinn, the backwards talking guy, he posted in the subreddit, and that's how I found him. And so people had a lot of really good decisions both ways. And so I bring that up because on the No Dumb Questions subreddit, right now, you and I are the only people posting.
Right.
And we're posting episodes. Is that good?
I kind of like the way you're thinking of it on the Smarter Everyday subreddit.
What do you mean?
As long as it's related to something we're talking about, great.
Let's just make a decision here, at least for the short term. What do we want the brand of that subreddit to be? I like the fact that people can discuss the individual episode on the episode, but at the same time, I think it would be advantageous if we had a place where people could submit other things. Like for instance, I just posted the Ready Player One trailer on there, and people are enjoying that discussion. So what do you want to do? Do you want to open it up or not?
Yeah, I think we should, but I'm not sure about your use of the word brand there. I think what you're talking about there is more strategy or ground rules or personality or ethos.
Okay.
Whereas I think a brand is a story, right?
Okay. So let's just say this. We'll open up the subreddit and we'll figure that out in the future. But tell me more about what you're saying.
So for example, I think I'd like my brand to be somebody who likes to think hard, genuinely cares about people, but we'll do it with a little bit of snark. Like we'll have fun.
You're talking about your personal brand.
Yeah, my personal brand. But those things sound a little bit like character traits, but they're kind of a story. My story is somebody who was raised around faith, somebody whose faith fell apart, somebody who decided to stick with it afterwards, but maybe with less of the trappings. And now it's fun to just have an honest conversation about it with whoever's into it on the internet or in real life or whatever. And that's kind of my story that differentiates me from other people who do the same job that I do. And it's not a fake story to do that. And it's not like I have a mascot. That's my story. Whereas my personality traits that go with that, we could list off a bunch of them, positive and negative. And that's kind of more the who I am. What's Disney's brand?
Disney's brand is happy with your family.
Okay. Believe, magic.
Magic's a good one. The Magic Kingdom. That's good.
Yeah. But Disney has traits like family friendly.
Oh, dude. I recently went to Disneyland with Brady Heron. And
what? You did?
Yeah. At VidCon, we had an extra day and we're like, do you want to just go to Disneyland together? Just me and you? He's like,
how did I miss that?
We just did it. But there's a really interesting brand conversation there because at one point we're standing in line and this little kid walks by with like the Mickey Mouse ears that like double as an R2-D2 top. And he looks at me and he goes, what do you think is worse? A Darth Vader mask with Mickey Mouse ears or a TIE fighter bubble blower? Which is worse? And there's a really deep meaning to what he was asking me there. You see that, right? The mixing of brands.
Yeah, it's a brand calamity. I think Star Wars has been fine since Disney took over as a product. But have you seen like the Dancing with Disney, like pop songs, and the Disney characters come out and dance on stage for like a live pop dance performance to screaming 10-year-olds?
No.
Oh, you're going to want to YouTube's that. It is a brand explosion. It is a Brandtastrophe. It's awful, man.
Dude,
if those
that's
ears
a good
bothered
word.
you, that will sicken you.
A Brandtastrophe?
Thanks. I feel really good about it.
That's really good. Like, what would that be? Like when a brand totally does something that's off brand? I like that, man.
Yeah. Okay. And that's okay. We're getting right to it right there with your Disneyland example.
So Darth Vader, Mickey Mouse ears are a Brandtastrophe.
They don't go together. Mickey Mouse is innocent.
Tweet
and
that right now.
and
I'm going to retweet that. That's really good. That's
go for it.
Good word.
Mickey Mouse steers like a steamboat and whistles, and it's adorable. Darth Vader, I don't know if you saw Rogue One, but he like murders 18 people who were just doing their job with a magic death sword and space magic. He chokes them to death and stabs them. It's like an adorable, it's like, that's not Disney. That's off brand. Don't get me wrong. I want to see space wizards stabbing other people, but it just feels weird with the Disney logo next to it for me. That's not working. And you think about the stuff that works the best for you, it's on brand. It knows itself. That's another way to put it.
Yeah.
But then you think about stuff that doesn't work, and it's stuff where you try to mix two meanings, two separate brands. And I'm gonna annoy some Christian people here, but I think a lot of Christian worship music is a Brandtastrophe.
Yeah.
It's where you take music that is born out of a complex history of music to communicate certain principles and ideas and values, and then you just swap out those lyrics that are incompatible with Jesus and just swap in some stuff about Jesus and then just play it, and it should go to plan. But it's hokey and it's awful.
And contrived.
It's hard to put your finger on why it's awful, but I think I'm putting my finger on it here. It's because the brands don't match. The Jesus brand does not match with the I'm so depressed and everything is horrible and my life will never make sense and I'm mad at my dad brand.
I'm mad at my dad.
You know what I mean, though?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Okay, go ahead. Continue. You're on a roll.
Well, all I'm trying to say is that I think brand is story. And so all the way back to your logo, I think what Bethany is trying to help you do is find a better way to communicate what your story is that makes you different from other people who make YouTube videos about science without wrecking the brand equity you already have. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. I just want to put a little fresh face on it because it's been almost 10 years. I guess it's more like 7. And I just want to put a fresh face on it so that when people see it, they're not like, oh, it's that same thing that has always happened. Every once in a while, I'll check in with Smarter Every Day. I want it to be a little fresh. I can't compete with like YouTube's brand and how it's changing all the time because it is changing.
You mean like the red rectangle and the white arrow?
No, not that. I'm talking about like what they are, like the story of YouTube. It used to be one thing, then it evolved into another, and then now it's starting to become like they're trying to make famous people, like all these young people out in California that are trying to, talk about their Lamborghinis and all that stuff. Like that's what it's becoming, and I really think
I know what video you're talking about.
Yeah, it's becoming that because of the algorithm and the way it's changing, and so I think YouTube really needs to figure that out quick.
Well, because they will, like we talked about a while back, they will shape morality. That algorithm that somebody coded will create a feedback loop that will cause more people to do the outrageous things and behave in outrageous, cheaply produced ways in order to get views. And that will seem like that's what the world wants. And that's how we all think now, even though it's really the product of math.
Well, it's outrage marketing, right? Outrage marketing is working right now. And so it has to change unless YouTube is going to be the place where just outrageous thing happens. I mean, they've got an interesting thing because they have to change with the times, the zeitgeist, or I guess they don't. They could just be what they be. Which brings me to Snapchat, by the way. I think Snapchat is on the decline as a brand. I'm going to say it right now. And
already,
I really like Snapchat, right? You know that about me.
You're really good at it. I've heard people say you're the best at it. I'm going to think of like 10 insults to even that out before this episode is over because I don't want it to get weirder between us.
Well,
but I've had probably a dozen people say that they think you're the best at it of anybody who does it.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you know what my handle is on Snapchat?
My farts smell like cabbage.
No, no. Do you know what it is for real? Don't act like you don't if you do.
Is it I Like Rockets?
It is I Like Rockets.
Oh,
and
okay.
so that is the only platform that I'm on that I don't have the brand Smarter Every Day, which I got trademarked, by the way. I spent money to get the trademark Smarter Every Day. Well, when I called Instagram a couple of years ago, like, hey, somebody already has Smarter Every Day. They've abandoned their account. They're not using it. Can I get it? And he's like, well, do you have the trademark? Yes, I do. Here's the trademark number, blah, blah, blah. There's like, cool. We already changed it. It's yours now. I was like, wow, thanks. And so my Instagram account is at Smarter Every Day. When I started trying to do Snapchat, there's a lady in Poland, a nice young lady in Poland who has the account name Smarter Every Day. And I tried to get it. I was like, hey, I have a trademark for Smarter Every Day. I would like to use it so that I have, brand continuity across everything. And they said no. I was like, well, I mean, I have a trademark. Like, just tell me this. Does Snapchat honor trademarks? Or do they respect trademarks? Yes, we do. Okay, cool. Here's my trademark stuff. Yeah, we're not going to do that. Okay, why not? Well, Snapchat doesn't want to be a place for large brands. That was the legit response from Team Snapchat.
Okay.
And I was like, really? Okay. So you just want to be a personal platform is what they said.
But when I swipe over to the right from my main screen on Snapchat, I see a giant feed filled with large brands.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know what that's about.
I'm not going to say her name, but I had a conversation with the lady on Instagram today. And it's like, hey, am I allowed to purchase the Snapchat handle at Smarter Every Day from you? I don't speak Polish, but she did pretty good in English. And she was like, I'm not interested. And I was like, well, why not? And she's like, I just don't know how to do it. So I explained how to do it. She's like, I don't want it. I don't want to do that. I just want to keep it. And she doesn't post anything or anything like that. And so anybody that wants to find Smarter Every Day on Snapchat has to go to I Like Rockets, which is weird. And I'm not the only one feeling things like that, because other people have told me like Snapchat is not good for discovering people on the platform. Snapchat's not blah, blah, blah. But you know who is fixing all this stuff? Instagram.
They seem like they're on the upswing.
They are on the upswing. And the reason they are is because they took all the neat features that people love about Snapchat and then just stole them straight up and put them directly into their platform. Like no shame whatsoever. Like, oh yeah, we're going to start this thing called Snapchat story, Instagram stories. And Snapchat's like, hey, wait a minute. And they're like, too bad, we already did it. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And so I'm even talking to people and you can look at their stories, and people that used to post on Snapchat a lot, they're not doing it as much anymore. And I think all of this has to do with Instagram being more popular. And the reason they're more popular is because Snapchat doesn't allow for ways for people to discover other people. In order to find somebody on Snapchat, you have to enter their name into it, which is hard and cumbersome.
Is there any chance that what you're observing there is maybe instead of Snapchat missing the boat, it's maybe that we're starting to move away from this idea of everyone needs a personal brand? Is there maybe brand fatigue in this?
No, I don't think so.
You think that's going strong and we're nowhere near done with every single person has a brand?
What do you mean?
Okay, well, obviously you have a brand, but would you say that your Smarter Everyday logo is representative of the Smarter Everyday brand, or is that Destin Sandlin's brand? Are they one and the same?
For me, they are, but that's not necessarily the case across the board. Like, for example, Mike Rugnetta, he does PBS Idea Channel, and he has a really cool podcast called Reasonably Sound.
Oh, okay. I know Reasonably Sound, but I didn't know Mike's name. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly. Several years ago, I remember him saying something in a conversation. He's like, yeah, you need your own Twitter account for just your name, at Mike Rugnetta and at Idea Channel or at Reasonably Sound.
Which you do now.
I do now, yeah. And just to provide that isolation, which is interesting because PBS Idea Channel is stopping. They are ending it. And so he doesn't have all those Twitter followers that he had on PBS Idea Channel. You know, they might not necessarily follow him directly. And so he's having to make a decision right now, like what to do. And so he's about to restart. And I really like Mike, so whatever he does, I'm going to support. But it's just an interesting thing to think that, you know, it's a little different because I own Smarter Every Day and you own 10-Minute Bible Hour. He didn't own PBS Idea Channel. He was working for someone. But I don't know. It's really interesting, the concept of a personal brand. I think you're talking about personal internet brand, right?
Well, personal brand in general. I mean, for you and I, there's no way to divorce what we do from our brand. There's no parsing them out. Our face is on camera the whole time. I mean, we're front and center as the host of My Little Thing and Your Giant Thing. Whereas there's some other stuff, big time YouTube stuff like How It Should Have Ended and Screen Junkies and things like that, where you don't really see the people involved. The brand is how they tell the story, how they communicate things, how it looks. It has that consistent feel, but it's not just somebody's face. And, you think about the last 30 years, there's some brands that they transcend any individual. And then there's some people who are brands, like Oprah is a brand. Jerry Seinfeld is a brand. Michael Jordan is a brand. LeBron James is a brand.
Wow.
And so it kind of depends on your product, but those humans became brands in and of themselves, differentiating themselves from something very similar, other humans, by attaching a story.
You're absolutely right. I never thought about that. Like, what's the chef that always screams at people?
Gordon
Ramsay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, wow. Huh.
And his brand is that he screams at people.
Donald Trump is a brand.
Yeah, he is. And what we're seeing, you took the words right out of my mouth. What we're seeing is the power of personal brand. That name is everywhere. People know that name. You can't tell me that didn't help get him elected. I know that we have listeners who think that of all the humans in our country, he was the singular number one best person who could have been chosen to be president. But most people, even those who voted for him, wouldn't go that far. So why does that person win? Well, I mean, Clinton, Trump, name recognition last time around obviously had a ton to do with things because those
Clinton,
are
Trump
brands.
Whoa, this got deep, dude. You're absolutely right.
So when you were a kid, living in Ready Player One era, you were trying to grow up to be really good at something and maybe even get sponsored. I remember when I had a couple of friends who were skateboarders and they got sponsored. They got like $30 worth of paraphernalia and told they were sponsored, but it was a big deal in the neighborhood. They wanted to have their name attached to the full power and story of an established brand. But as we got into our 20s and 30s, that changed. And then young kids were starting to grow up trying to figure out how they could be their own brand. And then YouTube happened right after that generation grew up. And here's an opportunity, YouTube, social media, for them to realize that dream. So on YouTube right now, you've got 11 billion people of all ages trying to live out the dream of having a wildly successful, marketable, personal brand. And 0.0000001% are succeeding at that.
Wow. That makes me feel a lot more thankful that we actually have sponsors for this podcast.
Oh my goodness, yes. Somebody thinks that these conversations we're having like this are not just worth paying money for, but they think that you and I help their brand. Because not all of our sponsorships are the kind of thing where they give us money and then they get more than that money back because people go there. I mean, I'm not great at math, but I can do it well enough to know that some sponsorships are going to be enormously profitable, but the way other sponsors want to structure it, it's pretty clear to me that what they want is just something about how we talk. And that's pretty humbling.
Huh. That's interesting. This seems like the best time ever to do a second ad.
This episode of No Dumb Questions is brought to you by 23andMe. And Destin, you've been knee deep in the 23andMe thing because you're making a video about it, right?
I have. Yeah. Here's the thing. 23 in the 23andMe comes from the fact that humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes. And this is a testing service that even you could figure out, Matt, because you literally have to drool. That's all you have to do.
That's like one of my 4 mutant abilities along with odor-free flatulence. Yeah, I can hold my mouth over anything and drain into a small target.
Yeah, exactly. So all you have to do is spit into this little tube, and then you enter this liquid into it by closing the cap, and it's a stabilizer. And then you send that off, and then they'll test it for your DNA. Now, it's not like a full, complete DNA sequence, because that's what people need. When you think DNA testing, what do you think?
Yeah, I imagine an elaborate series of A's and G's and T's and stuff all in spirals.
Right, and you think they can clone you because of it, right?
I assumed that was the point of the exercise.
Well, you're wrong, Matt. They can't clone you if you do this. This is called genotyping. So the full sequence is like your entire genome, which is 3 billion base pairs. This is a very, very small percentage of that, like 1/4000th or something like that. And so what they do is they go into specific parts of your DNA sequence and they say, okay, at this location, this is what tells what kind of eyes you have, blue or brown or whatever. And they go to just that one location and read that word. And then they do that on a bunch of different parts of your sequence. And then out pops all this data you get to use.
Okay, so this would be like me trying to find stuff that I've written in the past that references baseball. So I open a bunch of super old documents, hit the Control F, and type in baseball. Some are going to return no results. Some will return results. And then it narrows down what I'm looking at because I have an idea then of what that document is going to deal with since that word appears.
It's kind of like that, but like on the 5th chromosome, for example, they know the specific number, like at the, 15,005th word or letter, base pair, whatever you want to call it. They'll go there and they'll look for that specific sequence and they'll read that little area. And that tells them the information they want to know at that location.
So part of what's needed then in order for this to work is a whole bunch of data. So they're not just looking specifically at decoding every bit of you. They're looking at tendencies that eventually with enough data become overwhelming tendencies.
and I cover a lot of this in the video that I'm making for Smarter Every Day, but it's very much a probabilistic approach because you want to get all this data on genotypes, like the genetic word in your sequence, and then also you need the phenotype data, meaning what people's bodies actually do. And so people are, if they choose to, they're participating in these studies by answering questions like, do you sneeze when you go outside, or do you whatever, all these different things. That data gets rolled up all together. This specific data is then rolled into the database, and then that allows them to give you more information about your body than you would get otherwise.
Here's what I know. I got a package in the mail. I drooled into a tube. I sealed it up. I sent it away. Then I got an email with information about who I am and where I'm from.
And I followed that tube all the way out to California to the lab, met the FedEx dude that brought it to the lab, met the guy that opened the box, met the people that did the things with the tube to get the information out. And more importantly, at the end of the process, I watched exactly how they get rid of the tube if you elect to do so, or how they store it long-term if you elect to do that. It was really cool. I saw everything.
Yeah, and full disclosure, that was one of our biggest questions about the whole thing as soon as we started talking with 23andMe. So we really wanted to know, do you actually destroy the samples? And that sounds like about as satisfactory a way to get that answer as I can imagine.
Yeah, I saw it with my eyeballs. How's that, internet?
You're completely satisfied.
I am. Yeah, I'm going to get it for my family.
Well, that answers the question. I want to disclose something to you right now. I think I have a Pavlov thing going on because I'm salivating enormously.
I am too.
I just want to fill a tube, man. I'm looking for anything. Like I got an empty container of gum over here. It's one of those kind that do you
want to tell people the URL for the support, and then we'll get back to talking about branding?
Yeah, once again, it's 23andme.com/no-dumb-questions, and it's a good brand match. So on the one hand, if you just want to support us, go check that out. But further, my guess is that if you're listening to this program, you ask the same kind of questions and are curious about the same kind of things that the people at 23andMe are.
Good deal. Let's get back to the show. Okay, before we get full on back into branding, you want to play the brand game?
Yes, I do.
Okay, here's how this works. I'm going to say a brand, and you tell me like immediately what you think. Like, what does it make you feel?
Oh, fun. Okay, and I'm going to simultaneously use the other half of my brain to prepare your turn.
Okay, that's good. Let's see how it goes. Okay.
Rock and roll.
These are not prepared. I'm just going to make stuff up. Okay, Michael Jordan.
Air.
What do you mean air?
He's Air Jordan. Like, he can jump ridiculously high and do incredibly athletic things.
Okay, cool.
Like, he's a winner because he's better at stuff than you are.
Okay, that's a good one. Rolex.
The fanciest it gets.
All right. Coca-Cola.
Classic.
Is that it? I feel like you need to be telling me more. Like, what does it make you feel? Not just classic.
That's what it makes me feel.
That's it?
That's what it's supposed to do. That's what it's a very effective brand. Pepsi is supposed to make you feel current, hip, and with it. I mean, remember the choice of the new generation 30 years ago?
Yeah.
Coke has always said, no, we're not playing that game with you. We tried it for we did new Coke for like 1 year and it was a disaster. Our wheelhouse is classic nostalgia.
Was it a Brandtastrophe?
It was a Brandtastrophe, you might say.
It's nice. I like that word. Okay. I'm making up new stuff. Chevy.
Is that Like a Rock? That's Chevy, Like a Rock, right?
Yeah.
Bob Seger. I think of Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band.
This isn't working out like I thought it would.
It is working out. I mean, that's what Chevy wants to communicate. It's reliable and it's tough and you can't break it.
The nation of Poland.
Oh, I can't give my initial thought there. It's historical and it's negative.
Okay.
Lovely people from a lovely part of the world.
Okay, now you're just lying.
No, you know what though? Let's do it honest. Let's do it honest. Because you got brands as you wish they would be, and then you have parts of the brand that sticks whether you want it to or not.
Yeah, exactly.
When I was a kid, my grandparents told Polak jokes. I didn't even know what that was, or where it was, or why there was anything wrong with a Polak. I still don't get it, but they had like these stupid Polak jokes that they would tell and make fun of people from Poland. I don't know why.
That's weird.
The other thing I know about Poland...
That's dead. I haven't heard anybody even reference something like that in years and years and years.
No. It's been forever. but so hope that part of the brand, fortunately for them, is getting kicked.
Okay. Well, let's play this then.
Okay.
Alabama. Be honest.
Inbreeding.
Okay.
I mean, let's be honest. That's part of the brand. Okay, here's the honest list. I think of the brand of Alabama as including bad teeth, cousin marriage, simple people, high illiteracy rate, poverty, racism, NASCAR. Now, I know that's not true, but that's the brand I hear proliferated.
Exactly. And it becomes fun to proliferate that brand. And so,
well, it seems like you're in the in crowd.
Well, when I started,
that note is very important. Go ahead, but we're going to come back to that.
Well, go ahead.
Okay. Part of the thing with branding is that it creates a snowball effect. It informs itself. And as people become familiar with a brand, well, it's a shared story. I mean, brands are like the one thing we all know. We could all play this game together. People are going to listen to this and they're going to be saying a lot of the same stuff I just did in this branding lightning round. I know that Reddit didn't like Battlefield. I bought it and felt cheated by Star Wars Battlefield and by EA, whose brand is struggling amongst serious gamers. So I thought I would just be in the in crowd and rip on them a little bit to try and earn back some cred with people, and they just shot me down. But the move usually works. And if you just want to crack a cheap joke to get people on your side and build a little camaraderie, just make fun of Alabama. No problem. And so part of the reason people speech police in this day and age, like don't say that, don't use that word, don't talk about those people that way, is because they're subconsciously aware of the snowball power of branding. Once that ball gets rolling downhill, it's really, really hard to stop. And people are going to want to jump on board and act like they're in the know by participating in the assertion of that brand. And that's why people do it with Alabama.
So there was a moment in the presidential election, I guess it would have been 8 years ago, when John McCain was running against Barack Obama. Remember that?
Okay. Yeah.
And they were at a rally, and somebody said something about Barack Obama's Muslim extremist training camps or something like that. I don't remember exactly what happened.
So this is at a McCain rally? Because that doesn't sound like something you'd want to say at an Obama rally.
Right. Yeah. This was brought up at a McCain rally, and everybody was clapping, and you're yeah, that's the most extreme caricature we can paint of our adversary. And McCain, to his credit, said, no, I'm not going to allow that. I know you're clapping, but no, he's an American just like me. And I'm not going to allow you to make fun of him in this case. At his own rally, he went against his supporters to say that.
That's pretty cool.
And so that's one thing that when McCain recently, it was discovered that he has brain cancer. When that came up, there was this big thread of people talking about, highlights of his career. And that was one thing that came up. And so the John McCain brand is someone who will say what is right, even if it's unpopular. That's pretty interesting, I thought. So
I think some people would say that's the John McCain brand. He has other things associated with his brand that are less positive, but in the interest of being conciliatory because he's on tough times, I highly respected his concession speech in 2008. I was riveted by it. I was like, that's how you lose right there. And It made me feel convicted and changed in terms of how I want to lose.
I don't remember the speech. I remember where I watched it. I was I was in Yuma, Arizona, in a hotel. I was working out in Yuma that week for work, and I remember not being able to vote in person that year because of where I was. But what did the speech say? What was the deal?
I couldn't tell you at this point.
What did it make you feel?
It made me feel like there's something bigger than my team winning. And I am not a Republican and did not vote for John McCain, but that was the message he conveyed. And I felt like, there are things that are bigger than us.
So to be clear, you're a Democrat.
Also, no. It was the last time I felt like I heard a significant politician meaningly express consideration of the well-being of his political enemies. And that's a value I really respect.
That's cool. That's really cool. Okay, let's get back to the brand game because that was less deep. Not that this isn't fun, but here's one for you. Apple.
Okay, I'm just going with honest. Simple, streamlined, smug.
Smug? Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So Android or whatever it is that you would see as the contrast to Apple. What's the brand?
I'm a Samsung user.
Samsung.
I would say Samsung's brand is imitating Apple while trying not to be smug. We want all the smug cred, but not smugness.
And catching on fire. That's in there too somewhere, right?
Occasionally it just lights on fire, burn down a plane or whatever. You know what's amazing though? And brand researchers will be talking about this for decades.
What?
Samsung is doing better now than when their phones started melting.
Really?
They didn't miss a beat. Yeah, just in the last couple of quarters, they moved up a spot in the market share. Samsung's killing it, pun intended.
I really thought it was an interesting decision. You know, they had the Galaxy, what was it that was catching on fire? Was it the S7?
The Galaxy Inferno.
Shut up.
S7, yeah. Note 7. The
Note
S7
7?
didn't burn. Note 7 burned.
They decided to keep that brand alive, right?
Yeah, Galaxy Note, I think it's still a thing.
Oh, okay. Interesting decision.
Okay, in defense of the type of phone I like to use, it's not like if something you're holding to your face catches on fire, that would be an inherent risk. Just move it away from your face real fast.
So your brand, like your brand decision is basically not Apple. That's basically your brand decision.
Yeah, it really is. And I'll tell you when I made my decision. It was when they trotted out those strawman Justin Long commercials, the Mac guy commercials. And they had the old fart dopey guy like, hey, I'm a PC and I suck and I'm an idiot and I'm for dumb people. And then Justin Long comes out and he's like, I'm cool. It's okay, PC. I mean, you do suck, but it's okay.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
You know what? Shove it, Apple. No, you don't get to talk to me like that. The next time I buy one of your products will be right around quarter to never. And I've stuck to my guns because it irritated me that much, which is dumb and petty and nonsense because maybe it's a better product.
So the first time my wife came to Alabama to visit me in my hometown when we were still dating, this was pre-cell phone. She came to this store and she asked for change for $1 to use a payphone, and a gas station told her no.
What?
Yeah, no. I was like, what? And so I still live near that gas station, and I have not purchased gas at that gas station.
Yeah.
Like 17 years. So I totally understand holding a grudge. You're not going to get it's even like changed ownership. It's dumb. I probably should just, in the interest of forgiveness, go and buy gas there. I should do that.
I'm not sure that patronage, I don't know.
I just verbalized it and I realized how dumb it is. So I'm going to go buy gas there when I leave here. Anyway, let's flip the tables on the brand turn. Game. Yeah, let's do it.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Nike.
Running fast.
Interesting.
I think of Craig Engels. They gave him a shot. My favorite athlete that you may recall. Yeah.
Yes.
Who I may or may not have had a conversation with on Instagram direct message. And
you just find people on the internet you think are fun and look them up.
Pretty much. And he said that he might be willing to get on the podcast. I haven't talked to you about that yet.
What?
But maybe I know I haven't mentioned that. But anyway.
Dude, our lineup for future podcasts is getting good.
It really is. Okay, so anyway, that's it. Nike winners, they go for fast people, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Google.
Surprisingly, the brand that I'm supposed to feel is like Big Brother, but I don't. I know they collect data, but in general, I've had very good experience with Google. I think they truly want to do what is right. So in Google, I would say the brand is information and like putting information in the hands of the people for me.
Okay. Yeah, I could work with that. Walmart.
I would say Walmart, they are really, really good logisticians. My opinion about Walmart is very different than most people. There's like all these bad things about it, but nobody can out Walmart. They are able to acquire products from some location and get them literally everywhere in the nation for a very, very inexpensive price. So they have one of the largest networks in the world, like information networks, and it has to do with their product supplies. It's pretty interesting.
So what's their brand?
Their brand is retail at the highest level. They are the Toyota of retail. Toyota gets everything super hyper efficient. Like I've read books about Toyota manufacturing and how well they do it. It's called Kaizen. And Walmart is the Toyota of retail. They are hyper efficient. And you know what else I like about Walmart? I was at the Walmart in my local hometown the other day, and I saw a gentleman in a wheelchair sweeping the lawn and garden section from his wheelchair as an employee. And I looked at that and I was like, you know what? Walmart could have hired anybody, and they hired this man, and this man is working hard. And I appreciate that on both sides. I appreciate his work ethic, and I appreciate the fact that Walmart said, hey, we're about to hire somebody to clean up the lawn and garden section, which is a lot of lifting and moving, and they went after that guy. I appreciate that. And that way they give back.
I agree. I went to Walmart the other day and I saw they had $3 dress shoes for men.
Yeah.
And I thought, if you're out of money and you need to dress up for a job interview, I'd really like to be able to buy $3 dress shoes somewhere.
$3?
I don't want all the stores in the world to be Walmart, but I want there to be a Walmart.
Yeah. At one point in my life, in like junior high or something, it was a joke. You know, Walmart was the butt of the joke. Like, people go there when they want to save money.
Lame.
God, kids are dumb, man.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Two more. Levi's.
Ooh. Comfortable. Levi's are my brand, actually. Yeah.
Yes, they are. What number?
I think it's 504. I think it is. Yeah. You figure out what your Levi's number is, and you can just buy them anywhere, and they fit once you figure out your number.
CNN.
Oh, CNN is political rubbish.
Okay.
Yeah, they really are. Over the last few months, they have been just absolute insanity. It's clear that once President Trump said bad things about them, they had some kind of backdoor meeting, and they're like, look, we don't care about news anymore. It's all about taking this man down. I don't particularly care for that. I mean, for several reasons.
They've been silly for a long time. Do you remember when they did like 8 months of uninterrupted coverage on a missing plane?
Oh,
Day 71, still missing.
Yeah.
We brought in some specialists to talk about where it might be. Well, I guess it could be in an ocean, or maybe it hit a mountain.
Where do you get your news, by the way?
Interwebs.
You just canvass everything?
I don't watch any cable news at all.
Oh, I don't either. But I was just wondering, like, something big just happened. Where you go to the internet, where do you go to find out information about it?
I don't fully trust the BBC, but I start with BBC to get the outside perspective. I will hit all three of the cable news websites, but that's because I want to know what they're doing with it, not what reality is.
What are the three for you? CNN, Fox News, and what?
MSNBC.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think all three of them are the problem.
Yeah,
so
obviously.
I realize they're getting my traffic, but I want to know what they're doing because I don't want to be suckered by it as I hear other people repeat it.
Every once in a while, I like to go to Fox News and CNN, like on different tabs. It's amazing how you can read the same event two completely different ways. And I wish you could say just average it out, but you can't.
Even the order they list the headlines in.
Yeah.
The decision to cover something or not. All of this stuff. Like Fox News could not get enough of the Clinton emails. Over on CNN, wouldn't know it ever happened.
Yeah.
So which is it? Is it the biggest deal ever? And is it a huge threat to national security? Or is it a vast right-wing conspiracy?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It's ridiculous. I cannot wait for cable news to go away, for us to have some other way that we think about ideas. Ugh.
So Phil DeFranco is a guy on YouTube. He's talking about starting a news network.
I like him.
Yeah, he's really good. And he usually goes right down the middle. But he also tells you when he has his opinion.
He's a hint libertarian at times. It's kind of fun. Like not crazy anarchist. There should be no government or order in society, but like the common sense. If you're in a difficult decision, usually the better decision would be leave people alone. He seems to default that way a lot, and
that's
I appreciate
very much
that
your
as
brand.
A decision-making matrix.
That's very much your brand.
Yes, leave people alone. You got to do it the slow way and build equity with people, and then you can have an actual conversation when they know you're not going to force them to do anything or vote for someone to force them to do anything. Then if they reject your ideas, they rejected it on the merits of the ideas and not because they were rightly afraid that you were going to try and dictate your ideas to them. You can't have a true conversation with somebody if the second the conversation's over, you'll go and advocate for making them do it your way.
Gotcha.
Soapbox over. Yeah. So here's the thing with branding, that it's not a new idea. It feels like a new idea. But I was in Pompeii with some friends last month with the whole Italy thing, and there's political ads still on the walls in Pompeii. Yeah. They have graffiti, they have advertisements, and they have political posters, more or less, on the walls that you can still see part of. And even if you can bumble your way through Latin a little bit, you can figure out what they're talking about. It's pretty cool.
You know what I've often thought of? Like, businesses, they naturally grow and expand, and business isn't new. So I've often thought about the fact that there was probably a chain of restaurants in Rome 2,000 years ago. There was probably like Marcus's Fried Chickens.
Cheese wheels.
Are you being serious? I don't know these things.
No, that's a Lander, Wyoming food.
Oh, okay.
They take a hamburger, then they wrap it in cheese, then they bread it, then they just drop it in a deep fryer for an hour, and they give you this like chunk, this biscuit, this hockey puck.
That's
and
weird.
People here for some reason eat it.
But imagine going like 2,000 years ago to like, the same fried chicken stand over and over and over, but you're in different parts of the Roman Empire. And so I wonder if a brand like moved.
So you're talking about franchising, a brand that goes out as far as franchising.
Yeah, but like within the Roman Empire.
I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, but I'm going to start looking.
It's pretty cool.
But what I do know is that propaganda was part of the deal. And we know that branding through propaganda happened in the classical world because whoever controlled the narrative, well, they got to decide who was a hero and who was a bad guy. And so you've got Roman emperors who would go and compete in the Olympics or the equivalent thereof, gladiatorial games, and they would win. The Emperor Commodus,
I've heard of him.
part of his brand was a great athlete, Joaquin Phoenix in Gladiator.
Yeah.
He would fight himself. He would fight in the gladiatorial games, but he'd fight against handicapped people. He'd give them like sponges and flimsy sticks, and then he'd just murder them. But it was part of managing his brand as this great warrior who wasn't just all talk. And the emperors were in a position to do brand management. But I think because of the style of government and, the limits of broad communication, I don't think people were quite as worried about brand management back then. It seems like the uptick in branding happened at about the same time that the uptick in transportation speed and long distance communication happened. This is really late 19th century that we see the branding thing really become a big deal. I mean, there weren't magazines until the 19th century, but when magazines and catalogs started to happen, all that was telling a story to people to get them to part with their money so that they could buy part of that story and attach themselves to it. I mean, when you buy Nike instead of whatever Walmart off-brand sports gear is, and part of the reason you're doing so is quality, I think. But part of the reason you're doing so is because deep down you have an emotional connection to the brand, and you want part of their winniness to be associated with you.
I just drew a connection in my brain.
Tell me.
I'm sorry. It's completely off topic, but I'm with you, and I understand what you're saying because there is a reason why, I most recently bought running shoes, like actual running shoes. So I'm with you on that. But talking about ancient Rome and talking about a brand, there was this point in time when Christians started putting the Chi-Rho on things. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and the Chi-Rho is two Greek symbols. They kind of look like the Colorado Rockies logo.
It's a P and an X, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what it means. That's the extent of my knowledge. But I remember when I went to the British Museum in London, I saw a bunch of those on there. What does that mean?
Yeah, well, it's the first two letters of the Greek name, Christus, Christ.
Keep going.
So it became especially popular after the Battle of Milvian Bridge, the one where Constantine beat his rival for the throne of the Western Empire. His rival's name was Maxentius, and so they had this big fight outside of Rome in the early 300s. And the night before the battle, according to the story, Constantine gets this vision from God saying, conquer by this, and it's the Chi and the Rho symbol. So he slaps that brand on the front of all of his soldiers' shields, according to the story, and Maxentius drowns in the Tiber River, and Constantine is now the great king, and he rules as a Christian king, or the Christian emperor, the first Roman to do so. And so the Christian brand really took a turn in a good direction when the Chi and the Rho went on those shields. It became associated with victory and conquest instead of being associated with meekness and humility and persisting even in the face of horrible persecution.
That's unfortunate. I really wanted that story to be different.
Really?
Yeah.
You want me to take another run at it?
No, but that sucks that people got on board when it started meaning dominance and the assertion of yourself over others.
No, people were on board. You got 300 years of Christian history where the sword wasn't even involved other than in persecution, which wasn't as great as people like to make it out to be. There was intermittent persecution for the first 300 years. But the brand that really was sticking in the early years of Christianity was that ichthus. Remember the fish that people recently started, maybe 20 years ago were putting on all their cars?
Yeah.
And that ichthus, there's a couple of cool theories about that. One, it's a little word play, but it's an acronym for saying about Jesus and his authority. It's an acronym to hint at Christianity. So then it acronyms out to be fish in Greek. And so you just make this little fish symbol. And then theoretically, if there's a persecution going on, the fish symbol tips people off to where there's Christian things happening without it being completely overt because it's a simple 2 lines. The other theory is that if you were trying to be sneaky and figure out if somebody else was a Christian, you could just take a stick in the ground and make a little half arc. And if somebody took their stick and completed that little half arc to make the fish, it was a really sneaky way of being like, wink, wink, here's another Christian. Cool, we can talk. We're part of this underground thing.
That's interesting. Have you ever thought about, like, if you had I know this is going miles away from that, but if you had a personal brand? I remember back in art class, they said, hey, let's pretend you're going to come up with a brand, like to brand a cow with. Mm-hmm. What would you draw? Have you thought about that?
Yeah. And I think about it more because a lot of people I know here had to think of that and had to make a brand and have a brand. And it's on their truck. And it's on their business card, and it's on the sign that hangs over the entrance to their ranch, and it's on all their cows. But yeah, I don't know what I would do.
Have you seen somebody brand a cow before?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's that like?
Smelly.
But what is what does it look like? Do you heat it up with a torch, or what do you do?
Hot coals will do it. Yeah, I've seen people heat it up with a torch. I mean, I don't hang around and watch branding a lot, but it's very distinct. And I think what surprised me the most is how little the cows reacted. Really? I expected way more freak out than they're not happy, but if you did that to me, you'd hear from me a lot more.
Okay. So yeah,
I've seen it happening.
So there is a tradition in the traditionally black fraternities, at least in the South, of branding each other. Hey, are you aware of this?
I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they'll take a coat hanger. And I know this because one of my best friends in college was the president of Omega Sci-Fi. And, I was asking him a bunch of questions about it and stuff. And he said that it was really cool. Like, it was so cool being friends with him. Super intelligent dude that would teach me about programming, and he had never been to a football game, so I took him to his first football game and all kinds of different stuff. And he would let me eat with him at the he had the meal plan, and so he would go eat with me at the it was great. We were great friends. We still keep up with each other. He came to my wedding. Awesome dude. Anyway, so he told me about the brand and how it had to do with looking back, unfortunately, at the history of slavery. And how a long time ago that slave owners would brand slaves. And he said this was a nod towards that time and the oppression that they had to overcome. Really interesting. Really interesting. But the unfortunate part of the story is that they literally brand each other with a wire and a torch and all that stuff, which is crazy.
Yeah, to me that sounds counterintuitive.
I think they get to choose because he even though he's president, he chose not to do that. And so, super interesting.
Ooh.
But man, can you imagine, like, if you did that? Like, if we all said, hey, we all believe the same thing together, we're going to all get brands? Like, you would have to be all in, would you not?
Well, the cast of the Fellowship of the Ring did that.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, they all got the tattoo.
I forget what the tattoo said. It said something like the 7 or something.
Got me. I have no idea. But I get the impulse. We're built for community. We like other people. We like to be a part of a thing. And I think part of the reason branding is so effective and why we do things that seem really nuts from the outside looking in, like burning your skin with a coat hanger, is that narrative is very powerful. Very powerful. Everybody has this sneaking suspicion that they matter, that they have a purpose in life, that they fit somewhere. And so much of life is spent just trying to figure out which character you are in the story and where you fit in the story. And branding takes a very complex thing and boils it down to this simple little story. And if you like this story, buy this product. And so it works on us because I think we process life in terms of story. And story is a really simple way to communicate a basic point.
That's really interesting.
So I've gone through some swings with brands. When I was young, I just thought they were fun. Like, oh, there's a cartoon tiger that wants me to eat his cereal. Great. There's a giant bowl of sugar water that wants me to drink from its face. That's gross now that I think about it, but cool, it worked. I want Kool-Aid now. And then I went and did grad school, and a lot of that was dealt with branding and sociology and this kind of stuff. And I got really grossed out by it. I was like, I don't want to live in a world with branding. This is horrible. And it occurred to me that's impossible, but I was really against it and worried about its negative effects. And now I'm to a place where, well, branding and marketing are kind of different. Marketing can get really dirty, but branding is just storytelling. And I love storytelling. But at the same time, obviously branding, is meant to move people emotionally, and they can be manipulative. But I guess I get the idea at this point. I've come around to some stuff is just going to get branded. It needs to be branded, and a brand can be a great way to communicate with people. But question for you, is there anything in life that shouldn't be branded?
Things in life that should not be branded. I don't know. Like, to me, family vlogging seems strange.
Why is that?
I've had a lot of people tell me, hey, Destin, we like it when you do videos of your family, and you should do a second channel where you do a family vlog. But I think they're off limits. I think my family is off limits. That's the relationship that I value. And if my kid's having a tough time with something, I don't want him or her to have to think about how daddy's audience will view that. That's off limits. And I am seeing the rise of the family vlog in a really strange way. There's a very famous family vlogger that recently has gone through some personal life issues, some scandal, and jumped off the internet. And I just can't imagine what that does to your family, because you're pulling them through the muck and stuff with you for mistakes you made.
Yeah.
So for me, family's off limits. I mean, I like doing the occasional adventure with my daughter or son online, but I think family should be off limits. Do I sound crazy? And
No, I agree with you. I think it's one thing to say, I have a family and I love them and I'm proud of them.
Yeah.
I think it's another thing to say, here's the story I'm attaching to us for the benefit of making other people emotionally invested in us.
Right.
There's no need.
Yeah. I think that is on the father. I really do. I mean, my wife supports me in anything, and if I chose to do that, I think she'd be all in. And my children, they're young, and the internet's a neat place to hang out, but I think you really have to, I don't know, I feel like I have to make that decision. And the other day we were talking about the second channel, Bethany and I, and she's like, what are you thinking on the second channel? And I said, well, a lot of people want me to do more family stuff, but it just doesn't feel right. Even if it meant being super successful and the kids could have whatever they wanted in terms of education, even if it meant all that, I don't think it's worth it.
Well, your kids are going to be raised by the internet, and the whims of the internet and what people think of them, no matter how hard you try, are going to be the face that they picture in their head when they make decisions when they're by themselves. And I don't think that's the face you want them to picture when they're making hard decisions by themselves.
Right. I want them to think about absolute truth. I don't even want them to think about disappointing me. That's my personal take on it.
Yeah, you're a player in that game, and for now you're kind of a surrogate. You're a stand-in until they get to that place.
Yeah.
But come on, we know how fickle the internet can be. Look what they just did to Ed Sheeran over having the audacity to have a cameo in a TV show for a second. The internet's just up and down. It's made up of a whole bunch of diverse people, and some of them are grumpy. So I agree.
I value my family more than I value my personal brand, more than I value almost anything, you know?
Well, yeah, I'd hope so.
So you asked the question, so obviously you were thinking about something. Why did you ask me what's off limits for branding?
What about church?
Is it off limits?
Yeah.
No, not at all. I think the brand of church should be, hey, these are the people that help people when nobody else will.
Yeah, that's what I want it to be too.
Yeah, these are the people that are willing to go to the hard places and do the hard things and go to these street kids in Peru and clothe them and teach them how to play the freaking violin. These boys, have I told you about that? These boys are learning violin down in Iquitos.
In Peru. Yeah. Tell me what it's called again.
Not Forgotten. Yeah.
I forgot that it's called Not Forgotten.
I think that should be it. I mean, there should be an appeal to meeting someone. I was actually reading a Reddit comment today where somebody said that I have a weird evangelical Christian vibe to me, to my videos.
I think you have a really not evangelical Christian vibe.
Yeah, I think so too. But that's what they said. And they're like, oh, all of my biases were confirmed once I saw the Bible verse at the end of the video.
If they would have said you had kind of a shovel-faced head, that I'd go with. Yeah.
What was really cool about it is an atheist defended me. I thought that was really, really neat. Here's the comment by Mr._Mars. He said, first of all, I'm going to summon Destin to this thread because we're talking about him. And I'm just going to read it. I don't actually know if he's evangelical, but he is very open about being a Christian. I don't really understand why that should matter to you. And then he goes in to talk about, hey, the Bible verse he talked about in this stonefish video was about there being a lot of cool creatures in the ocean. And he said, personally, I think it's a nice little Easter egg. That's a cool person. And he ends with this. He said, I'm a devout atheist, if you're wondering. So it's not like I'm defending him out of a shared faith or anything. You don't have to like his videos or him as a person. You do you. Just why drag his beliefs into it? Why does it matter if he's a Christian? That's a cool person that wrote that. Like, hey, this person believes something completely different than I do, but I'm calling you on your bull crap, Mr. Internet Man. I was like,
I want that to be part of church's brand.
Me too.
And look how much we respect it when somebody who doesn't think what we think can just have common sense and basic decency and say, yeah, this makes sense. And I can agree with someone here and disagree there. Who cares? Happens all the time. That is such a normal, healthy way to interact with people. And I would love 10 years from now, when people think about Christianity in America, for them to think, oh, those people are very honest thinkers. Sometimes they doubt, sometimes they believe, but they think hard about what they're doing. And they care about people who disagree with them. That's part of what draws me to libertarianism. Is the perspective, theoretically, if you game it out all the way to its end, is you find yourself advocating for people you totally disagree with. Like all of the things that I'm always arguing with you about that I think should be legalized, I don't do any of them. I just think other people should be allowed and I don't own them. And I'm trying to figure this thing out for myself, but I'd like the brand of the church to be like the brand of Mr._Mars.
Yeah, I like that conversation a lot more before you said, yeah, church is like libertarianism, because those are two different brands.
They are different brands, but come on, Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, whatever. It's a huge, diverse group of people in each of those pools. Yeah. What draws me to the libertarian thing is Jesus. You know, the idea that we're patient with other people who are different from us, that grace means we don't use force on people who are different from us just because we wish they were more like us. And so I find that really attractive as a political position to say, cut people some slack, be patient.
Okay, if faith is a certain brand and your life is different, then you have a Brandtastrophe. And that's when it sucks for people.
Yes. Yeah.
So people have this caricature of what they think faith is, like Christianity specifically is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Click. Continue. Yep.
Yeah, like the rule following thing.
Yep.
And then when they see people that suck that also claim to be that, they're like, oh, that's a Brandtastrophe. That makes me feel icky. Mm-hmm. Right? And so there's two things to that. Number one, they're comparing it against what they think church is. And then they should be comparing it about what Jesus is, because that's completely different. I don't know. What are you thinking about that?
I think you're spot on. Hypocrisy is the grossest thing. And not just with religion, but with anything. I mean, people from the far other end of the spectrum that I see when I swing by our atheism. I mean, there are people over there who are having their own atheist Brandtastrophe, and people who are a little further along are like, you're killing us. This is why no one likes what we think, because they see the inconsistency in some of the more immature stuff that goes on there as well. I mean, it's not exclusive to any singular group. I think what we want is something that's consistent and that smacks of telling the truth, even if you disagree with the person who's saying it or their perspective. It's just level. We want to see that what we think or what we make our brand actually affects other things about how we live and what we do. And we respect people like that, even if we disagree with the premise of what they're into.
This is what this whole talk has done for me. It's going to make me really consider what my personal brand is and how it aligns with those brands that I choose to associate myself with. It's going to make me think about that on a completely different level. Whether that brand is engineering, whether that brand is Christianity, whether that brand is like fatherhood, it's really going to make me think deeply about all of my choices and how it affects all the things I choose to associate myself with.
Likewise, I think I started to do that once a long time ago, but I think it was cheap. I lived in the not West. I missed the West, and I wanted to exude West. So I'm going to need a Jeep. I'm going to need to wear outdoorsy clothes in a place where that doesn't make any sense. I'm going to need a Husky, things like that. And I think that's the last time I really thought carefully about what brands I go and shop for, what brands I put my name next to craft my personal brand. I think I was just trying to be different.
Huh. You know, that's why I wear a blue hat with nothing on it.
Because it doesn't have a brand?
Yeah. It's hard to find a hat without a brand on it.
Yeah, this is true. I have one. I call it Brown Hat. It has a personality. I bought it from Amazon for like $1. It's Brown Hat, and I introduce people to it when I wear it.
To make this, to end on a light note, I really do like it when you wear a hat in your videos. I think it suits your brand well.
Because you don't like my head shape?
No, I just think you look cooler to hang out with when you're wearing a hat. You look like a stinking bouncer at a bar or something without it.
Yeah, I get that a lot. Yeah, I intimidate people a lot, especially in person because of my size.
I enjoyed this, man. Thank you.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We had a little idea about where this might go, and it got into really cool places. Thank you.
I think so. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Okay, you want to just skip most of the outro stuff today?
Yeah.
The basic is this. People support us on Patreon, and we really appreciate it. And if anybody listening wants to do that, patreon.com/nodumbquestions. You're smart. You can figure out internet. Or if you don't feel like it, that's cool too. Anything else people need to know?
No, that's it. People are smart.
Yeah. You know what, though? We just had a great conversation. Let's do this one more thing. Come talk about it with us at r/nodumbquestions. That's where we have the conversations for these. This will be a fun one to kick around together, I think.
I think so too. And I'd like to do a brand thread on there. I'm just going to make a thread where people can say, name a brand, and then everybody just, respond to it.
Yeah, call the thread the brand game.
The brand game. That's a good one. That'll be fun.
Oh, and people who participate in that, throw out weird stuff, not just companies. Like Destin threw out Alabama. Get creative. Let's have fun with it.
That'll be real fun.
Okay, we said we weren't going to do an outro, and then we did like 5 things.
We did. Later, dude.
All right. I'm going to let you be. Take care, man. This was fun.
No joke. I really enjoyed this. I appreciate it.
Me too. All right. Talk to you soon.
Later.